Well, good Friday evening, everyone. How are you? It's good to see you. Thank you for coming and spending your Friday evening, maybe Saturday morning, I don't know, and joining us for Friday Night Live. I'd like to welcome hold on a sec. I'm sure y'all can hear that in the area. There you go. Yeah, it's loud in my ears too. So, Claudia, how are you? Did we lose Scott? No, we
I'm
didn't.
still here.
Okay. Don't know why I'm not seeing you in there. Let's see here. Well, anyway, there's already 50 plus people in here. I hope the coffee is holding up in there because I'll guarantee you this is going to be a wonderful discussion tonight. Please welcome back Dr. Claudia Albers.
Thank you.
Claudia, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
And also our special friend, and I've got to see why I am not seeing. There we are. I was flying blind. And of Planet X News, Scott Sion, how are you doing, my friend?
How you doing, Wayne? How you doing? Good to hear your voice again.
Well, same for you. I mean, most people don't know this, but we've known each other going back 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, it's getting up there.
Yeah, I was thinking 2015, I believe. Yeah. So 3 years. Pardon me for having
time is definitely flying by.
It is. So how are you, my friend? It seems like you are growing, and I haven't talked in a long time. So why don't you introduce yourself to my audience, and I'm going to give you the floor and kind of just maybe give a little background on yourself. And then we always have Dr. Albers, which is always exciting.
Thank you.
So Scott, tell us a little bit about Planet X News and yourself, and how did you get into the entire Planet X research?
Well, actually, I mean, for me, it all started back in college. I was in my last year of college, and one of my professors, he was a theology professor, and he just mentioned this Planet X and started talking about this Nibiru theory, and it was kind of weird because it really didn't jive with a theology course that I was taking my last year in college, and it kind of piqued my curiosity. But back at that time, there wasn't a whole lot of information. The internet wasn't like it is now. There was no such thing as Google. There was no such thing as YouTube. So the only thing that you really had was, reading material, things that you could possibly look up. But as the years went by, I forgot about it. And then in 2005, I really started noticing the whole chemtrail situation. And by 2009, I had jumped on to Facebook, and I started publicizing daily photographs that I was seeing in the sky, or, photographs I was taking and seeing things in the sky. Let me just put that back together real quick. And within a matter of a few months, Facebook deleted my account. That's just it, man. They just took me right off of Facebook.
Just arbitrarily, just no cause at all.
Yeah, wow. No explanation. And back then there really wasn't an explanation like there is now. They send you an email, oh, you broke this rule, you broke that rule. But just to make a long story short, that's what I started noticing. I started noticing the chemtrail patterns. I was actually timing them every single day. And, then it started picking up. I started looking into other things, and I started noticing that people were talking about the theoretical Nibiru. I read Zachariah Sitchin's book. Mm-hmm. I read a lot of information on, Dr. Robert Harrington, right. And I really started blending myself into all of this information. And over the years, I've basically kept my mouth shut. But, in 2015, I really started noticing things were changing. Things were changing with our climate, our weather. I noticed things changing with governments, the way information flows. I can see very clearly a lot of cover-ups starting to happen, disinformation. So I started looking into it even more and more and more. And then by 2016, I basically just had it. I can see that, there was a lot more out there to investigate and to research. And whenever I got into it, I started uncovering tremendous things, and over the course of the last couple of years, the Planet X News YouTube channel, we've produced over 1,300 videos, and we are creeping up on 18 million views on our channel.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Now, YouTube is, they're censoring my channel and Dr. Albers' channel pretty heavily. They're doing it through new algorithms and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the reasons why we developed the Planet X News organization Facebook page and also built a website. And through these two medias, we're actually able to reach a lot more people, because in October of 2016, they really started putting the kibosh on my YouTube channel. I had a massive European following, people from all over Europe. And then in October of 2016, by the end of the month, they all disappeared. They're still subscribed to my channel, but they can't see any of my videos.
Now that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
why we developed the Facebook page and also our website. And with the website, it has a very good analytical program behind it. It lets me see, where our views are coming from, what country, and how many. It even lets me know what web browser they're using, if they're using their cell phones. It even tells me that the type of operating system that they're using, Apple, Android. And since we've developed the website, the numbers have increased. And people are saying, oh, we thought you were off of YouTube. We can't see you anymore. So that only tells Claudia and I that we've definitely been onto something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt with visual observations and these photographs that, some of them that I've sent you, that there is absolutely no doubt that we have a very serious situation in our inner solar system. It is affecting our sun. You will not find, too many mainstream scientists like Dr. Albers, with her academics and her achievements and her degrees. You won't find any of these people stepping up to the plate and exposing this, because it is professional suicide for them, as it was for Dr. Albers.
Yeah.
Claudia, I mean, if you want to, Claudia, you want to touch on that for a minute. That's a.
Oh, okay. Well, yes. When I started writing this, I knew I had to, about the subject, I knew I had to do it anonymously, because I did know that, everything that I was doing, my career would be in danger if they found out who I was. I knew that from the beginning. Unfortunately, my name was leaked. So, and then that was immediately followed by the university where I was working, being threatened. And there were lots of complaints that were sent to the head of school, the dean of the faculty, of the science faculty, and the vice chancellor of the university. They were all sent email after email about me, and some of the things in those emails were just horrible. And so they had to take notice, and I was called in. I was basically threatened. I was told to stop or else, basically. I was basically told they would fire me. They threatened to fire me, not in so many words, in a sort of a subtle way, but not in a nice way at all. I was victimized, and well, I felt very victimized. I felt very unsure. No one seemed to want to side with me at the university. So eventually I was basically forced to leave, basically, because of all this. I had really no choice. I couldn't live in that kind of environment. So that's what happened. So basically, I'd been lecturing at that university for 17 years, and it was the same university where I had done my PhD. So basically, that was like home for me. And I was forced to leave. I had no choice in the end because my name was leaked. And this kind of research is just not liked by the establishment. I was already not liked in a way because I was lecturing to my students in a way that allowed them to ask questions about the theories. I invited those questions. I used to say to them, just because the theory says so doesn't mean it is so. And so I was teaching my students to question established theory. And I think that's one of the things they didn't like about me. But
imagine you were actually telling students to think for themselves.
I was actually teaching them. I did a second master's degree in science education once I started lecturing. I was very interested in teaching students about problem solving and how to do creative thinking together with different problem solving techniques. So I applied that, and I researched it as well. So I was specifically trying to teach my students how to think properly.
You know, Claudia, I left the Nibiru research because of what happened to you. And I don't think people grasp, because many times in the YouTube and the Facebook reality, it's an artificial reality that people get into, and the viciousness by which I saw you being attacked for nothing more than doing what science does anyway, than postulate theories. And the recklessness of what I saw individuals doing that were supposed to be mature individuals acting like criminals, because here in the United States, if you still want to go after them, talk to me afterwards, because what they did to you is illegal. Mm-hmm. You can get financial compensation, but what gets me is that these people did not stop with the insanity that they began to attack you with. They began to carry that forward in an environment that showed me that these people were mentally unstable. And I still have their names. Mm-hmm. What they were showing were signs of severe cognitive dissonance that was leading to psychotic personality traits. And you know what? I said, the hell with it. Mm. I really don't care anymore. Mm. If this is what people are doing, this is no different than what they did back in the time of the Christian church when it began to sweep through Europe. It was the scientists, it was the free teachers that were teaching people to think for themselves that were persecuted. Mm-hmm. And what I saw taking place in you was the same persecution that was taking place 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and yet it's so prevalent today, which validates my hypothesis that mankind, Homo sapiens, have not developed at all in the last 6,500 years. So, Claudia, on behalf of the morons that did this to you, that, you know, they ruined your professional career, or tried to.
Yes.
Because I sense that with the support that you're going to get here and what's going to continue to grow, that you will become a leading voice of the scientific community to open up avenues of thought that has been up until this time chastised and ostracized. So, Dr. Albers, well done, well done, well done.
Well, thank you very much, Wayne. But to tell you the truth, the whole scientific paradigm that is now promoted at universities is very stifling of new ideas. Everything is closed to new ideas. The peer review system, the way universities want you to publish or perish. And if you want, you need to publish in order to get ahead in your career.
Precisely.
And you can only publish if your work agrees with the established theories, basically. So new ideas, or you don't even go there. I mean, the colleague I had in the office next to mine at the university, I talked to him about what I was writing. And he told me that, oh, it's fine to discuss these things amongst ourselves, but we cannot talk to the public about these things. We have to keep it behind closed doors.
My God, I just heard what you were just saying. If this doesn't validate, Claudia and Scott is well getting the conversation, the fact is that we live in an illusionary designed reality. And here is science, right? It's supposed to be science. And it's as backward in its application and approach than, again, we were 2,000 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the truth. You know, we can take this negative that's happened to Dr. Albers with her career, and through my contact with her, you know, we had hours and hours and hours of conversation.
Yeah.
And there were points in time where I was very, very worried about her safety in South Africa. And there were some things that had come up, some situations that were threatening her health. And they weren't, you know, they weren't natural. So when things just came, you know, push to shove, she had the opportunity to retire and move to the United States. And together we have literally blown the lid off of what is in our inner solar system, what has come in. You know, we don't have exact, precise timelines, but we know what is happening. The effects on the earth are already happening, and people need to realize that. There is no such thing as this climate change. The climate change is being induced by what is happening. Yeah. You know, and just before we went on the air, you know, I mentioned a few subjects that.
Yeah, it's a great lead-in. It's a great lead-in. Let's talk about what's happening. Yeah, it's accelerating, in my opinion.
It's accelerating at a very, very rapid pace. There are more and more scientists that are becoming much more vocal. There are some here in the United States. There are some here in Canada. And there are some in Mexico, South America, and some European countries. But Europe's got big problems, man. They have big problems with internet censorship. We don't realize it here in the United States, but it is happening. It's happening worldwide with this information censorship. But getting back to what I was saying about Dr. Albers, it became a very good and positive thing whenever she came to the United States. I got everything all set up for her. And since she has been here, she has written 150 reports. She's published 2 books in the matter of maybe 7-8 months. that have
Something
gone
like that.
by. She works very, very hard, 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is pure dedication.
Yeah.
Pure dedication. And I do the same.
Yep.
You know, we don't mess around. We go straight at it. There are a lot of people that are still out there with their head in the clouds, you know, as you can say, because they just don't want to believe or even think outside of the box. You literally still have people out there that deny the checkerboard patterns in the sky on a daily basis are nothing but airplanes producing contrails. You know, and
it's funny you say that, Scott.
I mean, I've basically become fed up with it because I have one friend of mine who is an air traffic controller. He's been an air traffic controller at Greater Pittsburgh International Airport for 19 years. Okay. These people that work as air traffic controllers, they know a hell of a lot more than they are allowed to say. They get routine visits from the United States Air Force. They're not allowed to talk about a lot of things, and that boils all the way down to UFOs. But, you know, me and my friend, we've had some conversations about this contrail chemtrail. He's flat out explained it to me. Real basic. A contrail will disappear within minutes behind any jet. And he admitted the chemtrails are there. He didn't have any specific information on it. But being an air traffic controller for 19 years, he knows aeronautics. He's a pilot himself. So what we document in the skies, as far as these patterns, they cannot legally exist with jet airliners. It is an FAA regulation with the distance that these planes can fly, you know, close to each other. You don't see jumbo jets flying close to each other to form checkerboard patterns across the sky. And here's something else. Since 2016, leading into 2017, they have changed the technology that they use to disperse this material. And they've also changed some of the compound that they're using. No more do these chemtrails produce the big lines of puffy clouds. They produce a haze. And that haze dissipates very, very quickly. What exactly they're doing with it, me and Dr. Albers talk about it every day because we see it, we document it, we watch it, we videotape it. And, you know, I'm also in contact with other people that are documenting it in other countries and in other states. But what we found out is they're not doing this in some countries. They're just not doing it. And South America is one of them. You know, if you go outside on a freezing cold day and there is a crystal clear sky, just hold your face up to the sun and you will see the burning intensity of that sun, even though it's 0 degrees outside. Today, we both experienced it again. It was 16 degrees outside at 3 p.m. The little sun simulator they got up there, whatever it is, it popped out. It was just a big white disc in the sky. I stood there taking a few photographs, and it literally was burning my face. We already know we're undergoing extreme ultraviolet radiation The numbers have been up since 2016. Throughout all of 2017, they rose through the roof. People like BP Earthwatch and Mr. MBB333 documenting it every day with the ultraviolet meters and putting up websites where people can go ahead and download using Google Maps and using a pinpoint. And this is my reading. They're through the roof. And Dr. Albers, if you want to touch on the effects of the extreme ultraviolet radiation.
Yeah, the thing is, the chemtrails, the aerosols, which have a large amount of aluminium, small aluminum particles. Aluminum. Yeah. In South Africa, we say aluminium. But
they probably ask me for sign language if I talked.
And so these actually destroy the ozone layer, which means that we are going to get more high energy ultraviolet radiation arriving at the surface. But I believe these simulators are actually producing a high level of perhaps ultraviolet radiation themselves. And this is probably why whenever we feel the energy of these simulators on our skin, it feels like they are burning almost immediately. But that is the sign that ultraviolet radiation is impacting our skin, and our skin reacts by feeling that burning. Yeah. And the same thing happens if the ozone layer is destroyed. The high energy ultraviolet radiation, the UVC radiation, will feel like that. Our skin feels like it's being burned immediately.
Are we in the process of this dance? In other words, we know that it's now mainline media. Scott, as you were saying prior when we came on live, that it is now being broadcast to the world. We are in the midst of a magnetic pole shift. Now, the question I have for you, Dr. Albers, is this. So when we see this increased radiation and gamma ray radiation is off, it's amazing now. We're going to start get this, they're going to start listing cardiac potential hazards when the KB index drops to 0, and it's doing it more and more.
Yeah.
So that's increasing this cosmic radiation to us. I think that it's genetically altering our DNA. It's damaging it. But I guess the question I'm asking, are we going to begin to see even more radical weather shifts and pattern in changes? Is that what they're trying to somehow mask?
Yes, definitely. We are getting multiple changes on our planet that, as they increase, and I suppose they will increase even more, and weather is just one of them. Weather can be cataclysmic. A huge storm bringing cold weather, followed by warm weather, causes flooding. Flooding can be catastrophic. We're not used to thinking of these events as being catastrophic, but if they are increased in severity, eventually they can destroy whole cities. And earthquakes are on the increase. They've been on the increase for many years. All of these things. We have volcanic eruptions, we have earthquakes, we have weather chaos. We have tidal events where the ocean receding from some coasts, and then we get other coasts being hit by these huge waves. And these things are increasing in severity, every single one of them. And you have to realize that just one earthquake resulting in a tsunami can destroy a whole city where everybody dies.
Yeah, yep.
So these things are on the increase. And on top of that, we have this ionization of our ionosphere. We have the pole shifting. We have the Earth's magnetic field seemingly getting weaker, which provides us with less and less protection. Yeah. So this may be also why we are getting more radiation coming through. We have all of these are coming together to produce cataclysmic events on our planet.
That's what I'm seeing. Can I ask you, if y'all have not looked into, I guess they call it the Beaufort Gyre. So
yep, absolutely.
So we know that Dr. Beckwith has been sounding the alarm that if this thing, if this breaks the way that he says it potentially could here this spring, this is going to bring rapid climatic impacts. What's y'all's opinion on that?
Well, I follow Paul very closely. I've learned a lot about climatology from him. Some people think he's a kook.
I know. Yep.
You know, I follow him very, very closely. Now, here's the thing. You know, we were talking about, you know, people doxing you and trolling you. He gets the same effect that I get. I've looked in his comment section, and the people, you know, these are the same people. They're assigned to him, and they're made to discredit him. But the man is a professor, a climatologist.
He is, and good.
He teaches at the University of Ottawa. So I don't think they would be employing some kook.
And I don't have the PhD behind my name, so that gives that cowboy a little bit more elevation in my estimation.
Exactly. Now, Paul's been coming out with some superb and very, very credible information. They're all models. There are two websites that I'm able to access now that gives me day by day graphs and charts of what is happening in the North Pole and the South Pole. What's happening in the North Pole right now, as we speak, is very, very dangerous to every single person and living creature on this planet. But it's very hard to get people to grasp it and to understand it because they're too busy with their day-to-day lives to, you know, just throw one more bone in their basket and something else they have to worry about. But this is something that they have to worry about because this has the ability to end civilization. I'm not trying to fearmonger here or anything, but we're going on pure scientific facts, not theories, pure hardcore facts.
And I'd just add to that, Scott, as well, is that no human has been alive when this last event happened the last time. Well, maybe they were. Maybe they didn't last. I don't know. Well, tell us what's happening up there, y'all. Tell we got a full room here, got over 300 plus people, and it's growing.
Oh, there'll probably be more popping in there.
Yeah.
What I've been seeing, and, you know, I've been monitoring weather since I was a young guy. You know, I lived in Miami for 22 years. So, you know, always the threat of hurricanes, and I went through Hurricane Andrew, and it was pretty devastating. But I've always followed weather. I've learned about it. I monitor it worldwide every single day. We literally have a network of computers in our office. We have 5 computers going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. They're monitoring everything from the weather to the sun. So, you know, it does take a long time to analyze all of this in the course of a day. But what I see happening, and I warned everyone this past spring that we were going to have a devastating hurricane season. Just wait and see. I warned people from January, February, March, April, May, and bingo. These weather patterns that are occurring, they're not going to decrease and they're not going to end. They are actually going to get worse. Right now, our jet stream is being affected so violently by what is happening. There's no way for man to stop it. There are some theories that we all have, and some of it pertains to the very severe earth wobble. When we refer to this earth wobble, we don't mean it's wobbling on its axis, during a 24-hour period. It's wobbling through the course of 1 year, its rotation around the sun. So if the Earth does start to wobble a little bit more.
Did we lose him?
Oh.
Scott. He is in the ether, folks. We're searching.
Oh my goodness.
Of course, he's going to fade out. It's like we're right in the last chapter.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, I could add, Wayne, that we are have several events happening on our planet that may lead to life ending on our planet. Well, they seem to be going in that direction. One is Fukushima. Fukushima is adding radiation to our planet at such a rate that eventually it will end all life on Earth. It may take 20 years, it may take a bit more, but it will end it. The chemtrails will end life on this Earth as well because they are destroying the ozone layer. And without the ozone layer, no life can survive on this planet. It will destroy everything that is living. UVC radiation will sterilize our planet if there is no ozone layer.
By the way, I will be I do a show where I just do the week headlines. And in that, I have to tell you, Cornell University released a study this week. By their models, they said the human race will be sterile in less than 100 years. That the motility rate of the sperm carried in the Homo sapien race, the races today, is drastically dropping. All right. So are we seeing cause and effect?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead,
Our
Dr.
planet is full of chemicals, and the chemtrails are adding to that every single day. Heavy metals, radioactive elements. I wrote about it. Strontium-90. Radioactive thorium is in these chemtrails. But it's not the only source of radiation. We have Fukushima adding to that every single day. I believe that the Pacific...
Don't we still have the cloud over Eastern Europe, the radiation cloud that's still in the background?
Yes, I believe they have...
Where's that coming from?
Well, the thing is that radioactive elements are used in all sorts of ways. And the moment you have nuclear power plants, you are going to have a problem with the spent fuel rods. What are you going to do with them? And then they try and store them. And of course, eventually there are accidents and they will leak. So you cannot use nuclear power plants in a safe way. It is impossible.
Yeah, we shouldn't even be paying for energy. We should not be paying for energy for at least the last 30 years.
I agree.
That's just an absolute fact. But I wanted to touch back real quick about the Beaufort. The Beaufort.
Yeah, I'm from the South. We think of Beaufort, South Carolina.
Yeah, it is a very...
The Canadians now, they'll tell you quite straight. In fact, I got reprimanded by a few Canadians.
It's a very, very dangerous situation that is occurring up there because the heat element that is being generated underneath that ice cap in that section. There is a passage between land. They are already talking about opening that up, or it would be opened up to sea passage year round. Now, that's a big problem because that now produces a tremendous amount of fresh sea ice that would flow through that passage and into the northern Pacific. We've already seen what has occurred with the freshwater ice melt flowing down along the Canadian border and right through the passage along Greenland and literally screwing up the salinity of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, all of these situations that are occurring, they were occurring at a pace that scientists were actually able to chart. Now, for some unknown reason, they are speeding up, and they are speeding up rapidly. One scientist used the terminology uncontrollable and alarming.
That's radical.
Because people don't understand that what is happening with the climate, what's happening with the poles, it all boils down to one thing that we take for granted, and that is our food supply. You know, yes, air, climate, but the food supply, this has the potential to upset the apple cart, no pun intended. But this could literally damage and destroy almost 90% of the world's food supply. Wheat, corn, vegetables, fruits, they're not going to grow. Do you think we have enough indoor growing facilities to supply that type of food for the whole world? Absolutely not.
No. And I think that you're bringing to another heightened point in this discussion is that when we're talking about UV radiation, gamma ray radiation, it's not only impacting living cells like us, but the plant world itself. When the plants begin to be damaged in the cellular structure of their photosynthesis of producing what we eat, yeah, Scott, that becomes a real serious problem real quickly. The
Absolutely.
words of Henry Kissinger is echoing in my mind. I attended a conference where he was at, and he said this. He said, the future wars will not be dictated by who has the biggest guns, but who owns the food.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we are definitely living in some trying times. And, you know, what I preach to all of my followers and viewers, you know, on YouTube and Facebook, you know, we're all in this together. This is not just about me and, you know, Dr. Albers and I, we're not some, you know, YouTube sensations or, you know, whatever. We're regular people that are concerned. And look, me, you know, I have a big mouth. I'm not afraid of anything. I will publicize it, and I will show everyone what I am finding. And I urge all of them to do the same.
Yes.
Now, the people that do follow Planet X News, and if you visit our Facebook page, you will see now tens of thousands of people around the world from all different walks of life and all different languages, all doing their part. They are doing their own investigations. They're learning how to use all of the NASA tools like SOHO and SDO and Stereo. They're learning how to use the weather models, and we are all now sharing information in that network. And that is something that the powers that be, you know, they want to stop that because it's critical. Because why? We are now allowing people and showing them to critically think. Take the time, examine it, take a look into it for yourself. Just don't take my word for it. Look into it yourself and make sense of it. If it doesn't make sense to you, hey, look into it further. But, you know, we really try to do things in layman's terms so everybody understands it. We're not out there trying to scare people to death, but people do have to know and understand. You know, I get a monthly report from a gentleman in San Francisco that takes air quality samples, and they are analyzed, and you're given a chemical compound. I just got one 15 minutes before we went on the air. And if you would really like to see what is in the air in San Francisco, or it's in the air all over, you'd be shocked.
It's killing us.
It coincides with the suspected chemical compounds in chemtrails. I mean, if you'd like me to share the screen with you, I'll show you.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Help yourself.
Let me see if I remember how to do this with the
right down at the bottom. There you go.
How do I get into that? Let me, oh, there it is. I remember now. Now, can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we can.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if your viewers can see it.
Oh yeah, we all can see it.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah, there's
Yeah.
little delay. That is from the monthly report, January 23rd, 2018. This is, coming from.
By the way, you cannot get, if you go into your doctor and ask them to do a blood analysis of the metals in your blood, they won't do it.
Yeah, I had it done once back in 2010. And the results, I begged my doctor to do it, and you are correct. And the results were staggering.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see here, this is coming from San Francisco. This was an air quality.
The iron. Why is the iron so high?
Well, if you think about what is in our inner solar
probably in chemtrails.
Well, I mean, let's just get right down to it. I mean, let's just take a look at what is actually in our solar system. What is affecting our sun right now? There's a massive stellar core there, a remnant of a star. It's not planet Nibiru. It's what we refer to as, this planet X, but it's not a planet. It's a large core of a star.
Yeah, and people can't grasp that yet, y'all.
Yeah, I know. It's very difficult for them to understand.
Dr. Albers, last time you were on, I was inundated, with emails, people asking what is a stellar core. But before we get there, so can we look at this, the fact that we have iron? Now, as I'm sitting here, iron has one of the strongest reactions to magnetic poles. It can be magnetized. Yeah. What are we trying to do here? Are we trying to artificially enhance the magnetic field?
Well, here's
I don't think so. I think, first of all, if you have iron in the atmosphere, it's immediately going to turn into rust. It will combine with oxygen, so it will turn into iron oxide.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, where else besides Earth?
Where have I heard that before?
I mean, where else besides Earth do you find iron?
Yeah.
Titanium. When was the last time that you heard about the metal titanium?
What the hell is that doing in the air to begin with?
Well, I mean, again,
it's a catalyst.
You have to understand.
Now, there we go.
I told you I was going to be in the front row of your class.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. What's that?
There's a high possibility that the iron could possibly be being produced by the interaction with this stellar core object in the sun.
Yeah.
We know that we get hit with the solar wind. We know those are particles. If you have a core of a star that may possibly have a composition of iron somewhere within it, during these solar winds, well, what other additive do you think is going to be encompassed in that solar wind? Iron particles. So it's just a theory, but let's be honest here. When was the last time that you ever heard about iron and titanium in your air and at pretty noticeable amounts?
Yeah. So it's a catalyst.
There's a lot of hardcore evidence out there. But again, it's very hard for people to grasp.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So does Dr. Albers.
Mm-hmm.
We have our hands in everything, and we're no dummies. We're two highly educated individuals, and we make a fabulous team digging into everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, sometimes it could be very mind-boggling and alarming. But like I tell everybody, you don't have time to be scared. You have to be prepared. And I'm not talking like, you know, the preppers go living off the grid, but I mean preparing your mind. And, you know, one of the other sayings that I have for all of my people is knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more powerful you are going to be as an individual, the better understanding that you're going to have when a crisis occurs.
Yeah.
And I think they're all grasping that,
Mm.
you know, and that is the truth. And the more knowledge we have, the more powerful we become, the more of a threat we become to the elite. Bottom line.
Wow.
Yeah. So I get these reports
Wow.
monthly. I would be more than happy to email them to you and share them with you, Wayne, and you can share them with your
I'll do
with
that.
your followers.
Well, thank you, Scott. That's very kind of you. Excellent.
No problem. I'll switch off my screen sharing there.
Wow. So,
Yeah,
you know, you almost want to say, okay, well, that was very, you go, what?
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I mean,
started talking about the ice melting and the icebergs coming down between Canada and Greenland. And what that does is, first of all, these icebergs are made out of fresh water. So when they come into the North Atlantic, they are less dense than the warm waters that come in a current from the equator. So what they do is these warm waters are then forced to sink down below the less dense and cold water. And that stops the warm currents from flowing in the North Atlantic. And these warm currents are bringing this warm water up along Northern Europe. And they are supposed to produce a milder climate in Northern Europe. But because they're not there anymore, because of all these icebergs coming down, which they are saying is now out of control, we should be getting an ice age in Europe right now. This is what happened the last time this occurred, because they've taken these ice cores from Greenland, and they know that this is what's supposed to happen. That's not what's happening. And I believe the reason for that is because our oceans have warmed up. And it's not just our oceans that have warmed up. Every single planet in the solar system has warmed up.
Yeah.
And it cannot be due to the sun, because we know the sun's getting weaker.
True.
The solar maximums are getting weaker, the solar minimums are getting weaker. So we know the sun is weakening. So the only thing that has changed in the solar system is these new stars that have invaded our solar system. We also know that since 1992, the amount of dust in the solar system has increased. And this dust or clouds of gas is also being brought in by these stars. So this is what's causing all this. So our oceans are warming up just like all the other planets in the solar system because of these objects, the system of objects that has invaded our solar system. And what does that cause? That increases volcanic eruptions. And a lot of volcanoes are on the ocean floor. And you can imagine that if you have lava coming out of these volcanoes, they are mixing with ocean water right at the bottom of the ocean. So the oceans are warming up from the bottom.
Yeah.
And what powers climate on Earth is oceans. They're going to affect everything. If the oceans warm up, that's what's going to power the weather. It's going to affect the jet stream. And this is what's causing this fluctuation, because we have this ice that's supposed to bring cold weather, and we have the warm oceans that bring hot weather. So we get this constant fluctuation of up and down, up and down.
And it will get worse. It will get worse.
Yes.
And, I just wanted to add something to what Dr. Albers said. There's a gentleman up in Canada that I've been in touch with since 2016. And now they are, well, since 2015, they have been monitoring the icebergs that are coming through that passage between, I believe that would be Western Greenland and Canada.
Right.
In 2016, Wayne, they literally monitored 500 icebergs that are the size of freaking buildings. We're not talking about little pieces of floating ice. We're talking about icebergs. And we all know that the iceberg is, the majority of the time, much larger underwater than what is poking up into the air out of the ocean. So they are now tracking these electronically. They're not publicizing it, but they literally have teams that are out there in boats, and they are literally putting a GPS tracking device embedded into the iceberg. That way they can monitor everywhere it goes, because it is a detriment to the shipping lanes in the Northern Atlantic.
Right.
500 of them monitored in 2016. I haven't gotten the numbers yet for 2017, but it's probably going to be worse.
So we're seeing then a desalinization of the ocean.
Big time.
Basically what we're seeing.
Well, the top layer anyway.
Yeah.
Now that also would have, go ahead, Scott.
The same is happening in the Antarctic.
Yes.
The Antarctic is the outer fringes of the Antarctic. They're disappearing, man. They have been disappearing for years. Now, listen, again, I was in touch with a German lady who was a climatologist. She was on her first expedition to the Antarctic from a European team, and she was there for 6 months, and she was so devastated about what she saw and what she documented that when she had a chance to return, she declined. When they got off the plane, and they have to use those propeller planes because of the air, but when they landed, the ground crew that met the plane, well, they were just all in hiking boots, t-shirts, and shorts.
Wow.
Okay. She showed me, and I agreed never to show the videos and the photographs, because she was deathly afraid of what would happen to her. They have towns, they have townhouses, they have stores, they have buildings, and there's no snow. There's no ice. She photographed it. She videotaped it with her cell phone and hid it. But that is happening. And there are hundreds of thousands of people there on a yearly basis. Now, we're not talking about the center of the Antarctic. We're talking about these outer fringes. One of the main areas is that the piece of land that jets off of the top near South America.
Mm-hmm. It's up around the Ross Ice Shelf.
Exactly. We've already seen over the course of the last couple of years massive pieces of ice the size of states break off.
Yeah.
They have a very sophisticated way of life down there. And they are silenced. They are censored. They sign a ton of paperwork before they go there. They make a lot of money also. They're paid very, very well. 6 months, you could live for 2 years, 3 years. But again, it's something that they're very hush-hush about. And it's melting. And some of the work that Dr. Albers and I have been getting into, the amount of data is mind-blowing and overwhelming because we're now just getting access to it. But the data goes all the way back to a recording time of 1978.
I wonder
now
when
we actually have computerized models that are showing us with your own eyes the ice disappearing at a dramatic rate. And there has to be a cause. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to happen. There has to be another compound in that subject for this to happen the way that it is.
Well, are we talking something outside of the Earth itself and the influence that we're feeling?
I mean, that's from what I've seen over the past 2 years, points me in that direction because, you know, one of these stellar core objects could have a powerful magnetic field, and we don't exactly know its outreach. Now, if you compare it to Jupiter, Jupiter's magnetic field is pretty powerful. It had the ability to capture what? How many moons? 66, 67? You know,
it's a crowded little place.
Yeah. So if we take an object that is a stellar core that we really don't know the exact compound, we don't know how powerful that magnetic field is and how far out it reaches. Yeah, so we're only supposedly 93 million miles from the sun, but what if this object has the reach of 150 million miles, 250 million miles? So are we capturing the outer fringes of this magnetic field that is now interacting with our planet?
And I think our sun.
We're talking 2 magnets, man. That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
That is as basic as I can put it.
Yeah.
But if you really look at it, you try to grasp it. I mean, you try to grasp outer space, the galaxy, the universe. Nobody's been up to Jupiter, orbiting Jupiter to see how big it really is with your own eyes. Space is space.
I tell people, I was on my radio show last night and I told the audience, I said, you get these ideas of the Milky Way. You have to understand that's all an artist's rendition.
Yeah.
We don't have an instrument that's gone up there and looked down on the Milky Way and took the picture. Mm-hmm. We haven't got a selfie of that yet.
Yeah, it'd take 10,000 years for the data to get back.
And I'm trying to tell people, that, they're saying, well, we were in the 3rd ring of the Milky Way. I said, how do you know that? We don't know that. Our view of the galactic core is, if I'm correct on this, Dr. Albers, if our view is less than 3% of how we see in the angle where we are?
Well, we have 2 problems. First of all, we cannot really see into the core of the nucleus of our galaxy. First of all, it's too far away. And what we see is not what's currently there. What we see is what was there a couple of million years ago.
Exactly.
So that's the problem. We seem to be in a galaxy. We know what other galaxies look like. It is likely that our galaxy is similar to other galaxies because most galaxies are similar in many ways. And then there is the problem that the current establishment sees everything through the eyes of gravity.
Yeah.
And these stellar cores have actually shown us that the universe is not gravitational in nature at all. They don't interact gravitationally with the sun at all. So our universe cannot be gravitational. If we have two stars approaching each other, okay, that's basically what we have when they approach the sun. And then they move away from the sun at a speed that's way below the escape velocity of the sun. They just keep on moving. That means they don't interact gravitationally with the sun at all. There's no gravity. Gravity, as we
I was going to say, well,
doesn't exist. So the thing is, our view of the galaxy, that's not even our biggest problem. Our biggest problem is we don't even understand what our view should be of the universe, when everything we've been taught is about gravity, and it seems that gravity doesn't even exist. And
then, the way I put it, look, no one's been there, so no one's right.
Well, that is.
Well, we do have
cut and dry.
I love it.
Cut and dry, man. That's it. Yeah. If you've been to Jupiter and you can tell me everything about Jupiter, then you are the man. But until now, science is science. Educated people putting together theories, a hypothesis, trying to gather the data, the evidence. But again, there's always going to be somebody else out there that thinks differently, that has different evidence or whatever. But again, like you just said, we don't know what is, we don't even know what's in our own solar system, let alone our galaxy.
I can't figure out how the moon stays up there. So, I did the whole lunar eclipse thing, and, that was a interesting experience, but I still marvel going out. How does that thing up there?
Yeah. I mean, the moon's definitely a suspicious character.
I think,
around our Earth.
We still have our powers of observation. And this is what physics is about. It's about the fact that we see something happening and we try to explain it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we should be able to think our way from what we understand about what we see in our own environment. And then we take that understanding further so that we understand more and more of the universe. Now, these stellar cores are at the sun. It's not very far away. It's only 1 astronomical unit away. Our sun affects the solar system is 100 AU in extent. That's how far reaching the sun's magnetic field is, 100 AU. Now, these objects are 1 AU from Earth. They are stars. The magnetic field is not nearly as strong as the sun, but as Scott said, they will affect our planet because they're only 1 AU away. But the thing is, by studying these objects, then we can understand what the true nature of the universe is because we see the interactions. Yeah. And then when we try to explain with our own understanding that we have from what happens on our planet, we extend that to understanding what's happening with our sun and these objects interacting with it. But yet, astrophysicists and astronomers are mostly looking at hundreds of light years away. Why would we be able to get a better understanding of our universe by looking at objects 100 light years away than actually looking at objects that are only 1 AU away? Of course not. But the thing is, we have to realize that using observation and using what we understand, we can build our knowledge of the universe. I don't think we should feel defeated in trying to understand our universe. We should try all the time to build our knowledge and our understanding. And we have to realize that there are a few things we can understand and there are a few things we'll never understand, but we should not give up. But the thing is, the establishment is trying to get us to give up. The whole educational system is such so that people give up. They don't want to think. We are told that there is no real laws to the universe, no real laws about interaction, even between human beings, that everything goes. So there's no up or down anymore. This is the kind of educational system we've been given so that people do not think and realize what's going on in the world, so they cannot make proper decisions. All of this is being done to our world in order to stop people from understanding what's really going on and being able to do anything about it.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. These people don't even have to think. They don't even have to think. They don't even have to read, because we have shown in the course of the last 2 years more photographic evidence than anybody on this planet. I mean, I can sit here for hours and show you the photographic evidence that we have, and it's not taken from, you know, ground level with a camera, because we're really not going to see that. We're not going to see this object from the Earth out there near the sun. Now, I investigated that for myself for years. I fell prey to it also, but from what I've investigated over the course of the last year, I know that can't be possible. That's just a fact. We've also calculated pretty much over the past 9 months the orbital time of this main object, and the one that is that close to the sun is massive. Dr. Albers, what was it? 3 to 5 times the size of Jupiter? Somewhere around there?
The one that you photographed through your telescope, that one was about 3.3 times the size of Jupiter. The 2007 one was around twice the size of Jupiter. Don't forget, the sun's core is believed to be twice the size of Jupiter. And that's what these objects are. The sun right now has a solid core within it, and then layers of ionizing material around it. Well, we haven't actually seen it, but this is what is believed the sun is like. So these stellar cores have gone through an aging process where they've lost most of those ionizing layers that the sun has. So what's left is the core of the object and very little material around it. And so if the core of one of these objects is about twice the size of Jupiter, it's the same size as the sun's current core. So this star, as a main sequence star, would have been the same size as the sun is right now.
We have to have you come. We have to have you back. Wow, I don't know about y'all. I've done time travel. I mean, I thought we just came on about 10 minutes ago. I'm looking down at the clock and I'm going, holy crap, we've gone, you know, like way over. And the crowd has still continued to grow. I mean,
I mean, like I said, whenever we do a live stream, it's a minimum of 2 hours, because there's so much that we keep track of. And that is something that you have to do. If you're going to expose this, then you have to keep track of everything. And
that's a full-time job.
I mean, pretty much, exactly.
Yeah, full-time job.
And you know, there was just someone in the chat that was saying that, you know, Dr. Albers is a kook. She doesn't know what she's talking about, and it is impossible for any type of stellar core to be in our inner solar system. Okay, well, if that's a fact, prove it to me. Because we have proven that the object is there. It's in about a 28-day rotation orbit around the sun. Very, very fast.
So I think what people are missing here, and that people are saying, let's go on. So we'll go to the bottom of the hour. So I think what people are missing here, when we talk about a stellar core, Dr. Albers, as you were just describing it, when we don't understand how large our sun is. I mean, our sun is really big.
Yeah, the sun's radius is 100 times larger than the Earth.
So that's what it's well over a couple million kilometers, I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the Earth is about 6,000 kilometers. So the sun is 600,000.
So we're looking at
Um,
cactus here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to
miles.
show you a few of these just
Yeah,
to
thank
show
you.
you
Thank
that,
you.
I mean, let's be realistic here. Do you think this perfectly spherical object just appeared out of nowhere?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see the size of the occulter.
Yeah.
Uh, you see the size of that object. Okay, you know, I mean, I documented this on December 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Here's just a different view of it in black and white. I'm now able to produce all of the photographs and videos in ultra high definition, which is a big help to me,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big help to everybody else, so they can actually see it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what? Or what are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me that that perfectly spherical object just appeared. It just appeared.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah. And not just once. We've documented it.
Yeah, many times. Scott keeps finding them. But the thing is, it's not just that it's there. The problem is it actually moves away from the sun with CME material. How can a solid object move away from the sun with CME material? If gravity was acting, then this object would collide with the sun or go into a very fast orbit around the sun. It's not doing that. It's moving away with CME material. It's impossible if the interaction was gravitational. But the debunkers will say that it's impossible because they're using the gravitational view, which these objects prove is wrong.
Right. Right. That's the flaw to the whole argument is that
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the gravity camp, then all the rest of this is going to seem nothing more than a false interpretation. But if you're looking at this from the fact that you can't define gravity to begin with, it's not a constant even in the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I look at this object here. You know what I find very interesting is the center part of this. I was seeing this object, 3 years ago on Secchi.
Mm-hmm.
And, now that I understand that it's not the same object, or is it the same object that we're looking, or is this a cluster?
I think what's happening and what has happened is, just based on my own observations and what we've been looking at over the last year, it seems like we don't know exactly when these objects came in. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, it seems like they are now settled in. They're literally settled in like the moon is settled in with the earth. This object is now settled in with our sun. People ask me all the time about its exodus. Well, that goes back to the Nibiru theory and the nemesis theory.
Right.
That is just a theory.
Right.
But what is actually happening is this object is literally locked in with the sun. We have documented it when it is at its closest point to the sun with a direct plasma connection. Direct plasma connection. Do you realize how far that distance of that plasma connection would be? We're talking millions of miles, possibly.
Yeah.
The effects of this object when it is at its closest point to the sun is creating the equatorial coronal holes that we constantly see turning towards the Earth over the last 2 years.
Yep.
There may be other objects. There's a very, very high possibility that there are other objects orbiting this core. They're not planets. Well, maybe some of them in the outer reach could be planets. But if anything is orbiting this object close by, they've got to be other cores, because they would not survive that close to the sun. And they may be out of the point of view for these cameras. That's why we're not capturing it constantly like we do to this monster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I've documented this, like I said, probably the best images and the best evidence on the face of this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to do it systematically every single month for a year at the same time. So that's when I started to put this on a calendar in my computer. And then I started to almost predict when we were going to have the larger coronal mass ejections. And at that point in time, we may get a view of this object. Well, that whole 10-month period, we got all of the observations right on time. Everything was the same. Coronal holes facing the Earth. Coronal mass ejection, bingo, we have the object. You're not going to see this object with a regular telescope. It's not emitting light.
Right.
You have to see it, view it in infrared. Well, how many people out there, have an observatory in their backyard? Nobody.
Yep.
So you have to do the observations. You have to get lucky. Your timing, watching all of these models and, having the time to do it is critical. But like I said, we're beyond proving that this object is there. We're beyond that. Now we're at a critical stage of showing everyone the effects. What's happening now? Because it's critical. It's happening rapidly. And if we don't pay attention to it, we're going to get caught. You know what I mean? We're going to get caught with our pants down here, and people aren't going to know what's happening. And they're sure as hell not going to know what to do.
No.
So we've changed gears a little bit because there's so much to look into with this climate change and what's happening. I think it's vital. You can go back through all of our videos. You can see all the pictures, the videos, and the documentation. But right now, our most critical point is what's happening to this planet. Period. That's it.
Well, it's like I'm going to probably end the show and go over to the bar,
Yeah, well, I actually believe that they've been here for quite a long time. Perhaps recently I've started thinking they started coming about 150 years ago. And the reason for that was that when noctilucent clouds appeared, they appeared on a regular basis in 1985. And the entrance of these objects seems to be related to that.
We're talking about a slow process here.
Yeah. That's the thing I was just saying, and I think everyone in the audience is agreeing as well. Is that we live in a shake and bake society. Everyone thinks it's going to be, but really what I'm seeing is that this has been unfolding for a while.
Yeah.
We're just now observing it and beginning to connect the dots.
Mm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it would be a different story if we had all of this data and technology 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But 25 years ago, this object wasn't as close as it is. And again, you're talking about two heavy magnets, the sun and this object. As this object got closer and closer and closer and closer, I think the sun has captured it. If you are that close-minded that you don't think that something else could enter our solar system in this broad galaxy and this universe, then you are pretty much,
That's like going into the emergency room where the flu is everywhere and you're out there rubbing your eyes and going, I ain't going to get sick.
Yeah.
Well, folks, this has been one of the best hour and a half that I have spent in a while. Would y'all come back? I'd love to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to share the information with you and share it with everybody else. And I think that's what it's all about, is it's creating that network of people worldwide that, they want to learn, they want to see what's happening. Yeah. And with their help, that network becomes much, much bigger. People are able to share the information on social media while we have it.
Yeah. And as you have said, both of you have said repeatedly, do your own research. You can see what they're analyzing. You can see, and you should be subscribed to the channels anyway. You should be learning, but do your own cognitive research. That's what I say.
It all helps. Every bit of it helps, man. When you share the information with others, and like I tell all of the folks, you are all an extension of me, and vice versa. We're all in this together. It's one planet, one humanity.
You just expressed what this channel is about. This channel is about, as you can see, the people in here. We're on a journey. We're documenting this journey. And this is part of that journey of life. I mean, this is part of the experience of what we're involved in.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you both are so strong. You're dedicated to this. And you see, that speaks to me is the dedication. And I just appreciate both of you so much. I mean, what a blessing and a gift you are to humanity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say. Well, folks, I'm going to have you back, and don't leave when we go off, because I want to get you all coming on the radio show. All right, everyone. Thank you for another fabulous Friday night hanging out here. Tomorrow night, oddly enough, I'm going to have a young man that is Scott, kind of in the same protege as yourself. He is been doing a lot of filming of the sky, and it's like I told him. I said, "You got some interesting stuff. Let's see it." So maybe if you're looking, y'all can give him some pointers.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'll tune in.
All right. And by the way, just to let you know, on the 11th of February, we're going to have Mary Rodwell. She is one of the leading Australian UFOologists. She has done extensive research in abductees, and it's going to be fabulous. We're going to get the date for Laura Eisenhower, going to get that down. So I'm looking forward to that. And we're going to have both Dr. Albers and Scott join us again. This is fun. This is good mind coitus. This is what I'm saying.
Oh, definitely. It gets your mind going.
Yes.
That's probably why I don't sleep very much.
Well, when you pass this next plane, you don't even have to worry about it. All right, folks, be kind to one another. Do an act of kindness that's unseen. Let's remember we're all in this together. We all have the same colored blood. So be kind. That's all I have to say. Thank the moderators. Thank you, Vogue. Y'all just did a great job. I've been watching everyone. It's going through. We've really kept the chat room very clean, and it's very uplifting. All right, folks. Thank you all. We'll be back here tomorrow night. Take care. Bye-bye.